Physics chapter number 4, motion in a plane. So in this lecture we will discussing about that how the motion in a plane. First of all, how the motion in a plane. But for we have already known about that the motion in a straight line. It means there are the two directions are there, upward and the downwards. Okay, here either forward and backwards. So there are the two directions are there, but whenever we are discussing about motion in a plane, on that time it will be goes in the upward, downward, forward and backward. So there are the two directions are there, x and y axis. So suppose we took our notebooks, so notebook it is a one planes are there. Okay, it is a one type of planes are there, so it is a plane. So in this lectures we will discussing about that the how. First of all we introduction about this lecture chapters, and then after we will discussing about that the scalar and vector quantities, what is the scalar and what is vectors. So in the last chapter, we developed the concept of a positions, displacement, velocity, and acceleration that are need to describe the motion of object along a straight line. Okay, so we found that the directional accept of this quantity can be taken care by plus sign and minus signs, and as in one dimensional only two. So see here, in order to describe motion of object in two dimension or a three dimension, we need to use the vector to describe the above mentioned physical quantities. Okay, so first of all we need to understood what is the vector. Okay, so there are the vectors are there. So first of all what we need to understood. So see here, there are the whenever we are discussing about the straight line, on that time there are the only two signs are there, plus signs and minus sign. It means it is a forward direction and it is a backward direction. But whenever we are discussing about that the three dimension, on that time what will happen, we need to discuss about that the vectors. We need to describe vector to describe above mentioned the physical quantities. Okay, so therefore it is the first necessary to learn the language of vectors. First of all, what is vector? We need to understand what is a vector. Then after, how to add, subtract and multiply vectors. What is the result of the multiplying a vector by a real number? We shall learn this to enable us to use vector for a defining velocity, acceleration in a plane. We then discuss motion of an object in a plane. As a simple case of motion in a plane, we shall discuss motion with the constant acceleration and treat in details the projectile motions. So circular motion is a familiar class of motion that has a special significance in a daily life situations. We shall discuss the uniform circular motion in a some details. The equations developed in this chapter for a motion in a plane can be easily extended to case of three dimension. Okay, so in this lectures we will discussing about the how to develop the equations in the three dimension. Whenever what will be happen. So in and also we discuss the motion of an object in a plane. Simple case of motion in a plane, we still discuss the motion with the constant acceleration and treat in the details the projections motions. Okay, so it is also projections motion, projectile motions are there. So now the scalar and the vector quantities. So first of all, what is the scalar and what is the vectors? So in the physics we can classify quantity as a scalars or vectors. So basically difference is that direction is associated with the vector but not with a scalar. It means a scalar quantity is quantity with magnitude only. It means suppose we have a value of 5 kg. So 5 kg it needs not to use the direction how in which direction there are the 5 kg values are there. So we just understood that there are the only magnitudes are required. Okay, it is that's why it is a scalar quantities are there. And then after we need to suppose time. So time it is also a scalar quantity. How? We cannot say the time 5 minutes in the in the north direction or in the south. We need not to tell us like that. There are the time is that's why time is a 30 minutes 40 minutes. So it is a simple magnitudes are there. So it is time, it is a scalar quantity. Then after also distance between 2 points. So distance between 2 points, suppose we have distance between 2 points, on that time only we have just say about that the 5 meters 10 meters. So it is a distance between 2 points. It is also scalar quantity units. And also, so we have along with the proper units, suppose a scale it is specified completely by a single number along with the proper units. Example are there: the distance between 2 point, mass of object, the temperature of body, and the time at which a certain event happened. Thus, rules for combining scalar are the rules of ordinary algebra. Scalar can be added, subtract, multiply, and divided. So just the ordinary numbers. So for example, if the length and breadth of a rectangle are 1 mm and the 5 meters this 0.5 meter respectively, then its perimeter is the sum of the length of the four side. So 1 meter plus 5 meter 0.5 meter plus 1 meter plus 0.5. So it is equals to 3 meters. So the length of each side is scalar and the perimeter is also a scalar. So take another example is that the maximum and the minimum temperature of a particular day are 35.6 degree, 24.2 degree, 30 then the difference between the two temperatures is 11.4 degrees. Similarly, if a uniform solid cube of aluminum oxide is 10 centimeter has a mass of 2.7 kg, then its volume is 10 raised to minus 3 meter cube, is also a scalar quantity, and its density is also 2.7 into 10 raised to 3 kg. It is also scalar quantity. Now we are discussing about a vector quantity. Vector quantity is a quantity that has both a magnitude and also directions and obey the triangle's law of addition, or equivalently a parallelogram law of additions. So vector is a specified given its magnitude by a number and its direction. So some physical quantity that are represented by a vector displacement, velocity, and the acceleration. So vector it is a magnitude and the directions. So suppose we are told that the velocity 5 meters in these directions or in that directions. So it is we need to give the velocity. It has a vector quantity. Acceleration, it is also a vector quantity. So displacement, it is also a vector quantity. So these quantities are known as the vector quantity. Okay, so which quantity, which quantity has need to explain magnitude on the also the directions. So and also obey the triangle law of the additions, or equivalently the parallelogram law of additions. So this is known as the vector quantity. Okay, Now see here, to represent the vector we use a bold face type in this book. Okay, see here, this is the V. Suppose the symbol of velocity is it is denoted by dark V. So bold V. So seen bold face is difficult to produce when written by hand. A vector is often represented by arrow placed over the letter say V bar. Okay, so it is known as the V bar or V raised to vector. So thus both V and the V vector represent the velocity of vector. The magnitude of vector is called its absolute value. Indicate the by V it is equals to small v. So thus a vector is represented by a bold face a, small a, capital A, P, Q, R, X, Y with respect to magnitude denoted by the light phase. Okay. So see our topic is that. So guys, if you can't understood scalar quantity and a vector quantity, so then please guys comment in the comment box. Also, suppose you cannot understood any kind of in this lectures, so please comment also. And also, suppose you and also you if you are, and also we will discussing in the next lecture what position and the displacement of a vector. Whenever we're discussing about the positions and the displacement, so on that time what will happen in the positions vector, what we will do. So see here, the positions and the displacement vector we will discussing in the next lecture. So guys, thank you so much.